Hi everybody, this is Mark Germany, Assistant Winemaker with Fireside Winery and Ackerman Winery. And here today to give you a little update on how things are going in our estate vineyard. Today we are at our Fireside Winery location vineyard, which is our smaller vineyard. And of course we have our large vineyard just down the road in Marengo. So this year we are really set up to have a really high yield in fruit. We spent a lot of time in the vineyard this winter and into the spring, pruning these vines and getting them set up for a maximum fruit load, all while cleaning everything up really nice, giving everything a nice even area to grow in and set fruit in. So as you can see back here, you can see all the clusters of fruit, and this is the Brianna that we're in. This is one of our cultivars of Brianna, which we grow a lot of Brianna here on the property, which goes into Glow, our dry Brianna. There's a little Brianna sometimes in our Brickyard Hill White, not always, but we use it for many different things here in production. So as for how things are going this particular growing season, even though we're having such a great yield year, we have had some challenges this year. It's been a very wet spring and summer for us here in Iowa, which can cause a lot of issues with disease pressure, specifically around fungal and mold issues. Things like black rot, phomopsis, powdery mildew, downy mildew, all of those kind of things really try to come out, really try to attack the grapes and the foliage and the canes themselves, which means we've really had to pay a lot of attention to disease control in the vineyard through very responsible spray practices and making sure that we stay on top of that kind of stuff. We've also already started seeing some insect issues with Japanese beetles this year, which can really do a lot of damage in the vineyard, which we mitigate through other channels as well. We've also had some issues with herbicide drift this year. I can kind of show you where, we are in the middle of corn country here, so every once in a while we'll get a little whiff and it'll start to damage the leaves like that. That is specifically from an herbicide called 2,4-D that causes that type of damage. Fortunately, in this part of the vineyard, it's not severe, but we have seen areas of the vineyard where it has been a little bit more of an issue for us. So constantly challenges coming in from every which way, but I think this year we are still going to have an absolutely fantastic year. Hey everybody, this is Mark again with Fireside Winery and Ackerman Winery. Some other really cool updates that I wanted to talk about. So for July's tour, we normally do production tours for our tour, but for this second Saturday, we're doing a vineyard tour at our main vineyard at the Brickyard Hill Vineyard. Our main vineyard is not something that customers get to see a lot, especially since we mechanically harvest everything now. So if you really want to see the true scale, the size, and the beauty, and really learn a lot about the grape growing process itself, I'd recommend coming out to our second Saturday tour. So for wine club members, that's going to be a free tour for you, but we do still need you to RSVP so that we know how many people are coming, so I can bring the right amount of wine for us to enjoy in the vineyard. We also have coming up our volunteer harvest event. That's going to be August 31st. We have a small vineyard out in the front of the tasting room here that is mostly Frontenac Gris. Our harvester can't get in there to pick it, so we have you guys come in and help us pick it by hand. It's a really awesome experience. If you've never harvested grapes before, it's a lot of fun. We get started early in the morning. I say early, 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to be going from 10 to noon, and it'll take us about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, just depending on how much fruit is out there this year, to get all that harvested. And you can really get an understanding of what that process looks like. Something else we've got coming up this year, and we used to do these two together, but we've separated them this year. We've got our harvest celebration and grape stomp coming up September 21st, which is going to be a lot of fun. If you've never come to one of our grape stomp competitions, it's an absolute blast. We're going to have some live music. We're going to have some food.
Yep. We're going to have it all.
We're going to have it all. So definitely recommend getting a couple friends together. We do the grape stomp competition in teams of 3. It's a lot of fun. and it's basically to see how much juice you can stomp out of those grapes in a short period of time. If you win, there's all kinds of fun special prizes and all that kind of stuff. So we hope to see you guys out. We're going to taste our wine club wines, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them so that you can be a little bit better educated on what's going into your wine club. We're actually going to be starting with our 2022 Brianna. This is a great wine, one of my favorite wines that we work with here. We grow quite a lot of Brianna here on the property. Brianna goes into our dry Brianna, which is what we're tasting today. Whenever I first moved here from Texas, I was really missing Chardonnay, and as I was going through the vineyard and tasting the grapes on the vine, Brianna was kind of the one that spoke to me the same way that Chardonnay does. Now, this won't really taste a lot like a Chardonnay. There's some similarities when it comes to things like tropical fruit, especially with the yeast selection that we use for this particular one. Oh yeah, lots of tropical notes on that. But you won't get the things that you would get in a Chardonnay, like the oakiness and the butteriness. And that butteriness in a Chardonnay comes through a secondary fermentation called malolactic fermentation, where we actually introduce a bacteria that eats the malic acid and turns it into lactic acid and creates diacetyl, which is basically the same thing they use to make artificial popcorn butter. That's how you get a buttery Chardonnay. We don't allow that process to happen with this wine so that we maintain the natural malic acid that's in these grapes. So you tend to get a little bit more of an acid backbone with this. But again, you get still quite a bit of those tropical notes. It's really wonderful. And we actually won a gold medal last year with this wine at the Finger Lakes International Wine Competition. It's really, really wonderful. A lot of floral characteristics, a little bit of citrus, but again, really, really heavy on the tropical notes. All right, up next we have our 2021 Marquette Rosé. This is a wine that kind of gets overlooked in the tasting room, but it is 100% rosé, made from free-run Marquette. So Marquette is a cultivar that we grow in our vineyard. It's a red grape. We will specifically pick some of that at a little bit earlier date than the Marquette that we use in our reserve and our Hearthstone and our Crown Fire. And we pick it a little bit earlier so that it has a little bit higher acid, a little bit less color, and we bring it in, and instead of fermenting it on the skins like we would do the rest of our red wines, we actually just go ahead and immediately press this and then ferment the juice. So you get a little bit lighter color. I do get feedback in our tasting room that our rosé is not as light as some other rosés, but Marquette is notorious for producing a lot of color as it is. So it's really kind of difficult with a Marquette to get a true Provence style rosé. This is actually the style of rosé that you'll see a lot throughout the Midwest. They tend to be slightly fuller bodied. This one's actually a little high in alcohol content for a rosé. This one's around 13.5% if I remember correctly. And then we put just a teeny tiny touch of sugar in here because again, we are picking this fruit a little earlier. So it tends to be a little bit higher in acid, which can be a little off-putting. We do just a little touch of sugar. It's still technically a dry wine, but we do that to balance out that palate for you and make it a little bit more approachable. Cheers, enjoy. Up next for our dry wine club, we have our famous Crown Fire. This wine has really done well this year. This is a newer blend. We've always done Crown Fire. It's always been a blend of whatever we've been producing that year. This particular blend is going to be our Estate Marquette, our Estate Frontenac, and some Chambourcin that we purchased from a vineyard in southern Illinois called Chambourcin Vineyards. Marquette and Frontenac tend to be a little bit higher on the acid, low in tannins, and then Chambourcin tends to be, I would call it the Midwest equivalent of Cabernet Sauvignon. Tends to be much higher in tannin production, a lot more color, a lot more rich and bold and complex. What we typically do in the production facility is once we get ready to start emptying barrels, we'll go through and taste all those barrels, and we'll notate which barrel we think would make a great addition to our Crown Fire. And then we'll do some test blends. We'll go through and we'll taste all those and we'll figure out what we like the most. This one's, again, done really well for us. This one actually just won a double gold and best in class at the International Women's Wine Competition. So we're super excited about that. This is one of those red blends that pretty much, if you're a dry red drinker, you're gonna love this. But also, if you're a sweet wine drinker that's trying to kind of guide yourself into the drier wine world, this is a really good crossover for that. It doesn't have a ton of tannic structure, so it doesn't leave that kind of sandpaper dry feeling in your mouth that tannins will typically bring you. It's a very approachable wine, and again, if you want to kind of cross over into the dry world, this may just be the wine to get you there. Cheers. Well, it's time to celebrate a little bit here. We're gonna pop open some bubbles for you. This wine, we had this at Wine Club last time as well. I think it might have been on the Dry Wine Club. I can't remember specifically, but this wine is called Noir de Brickyard. This is basically the Marquette Rosé, but a sparkling version. There is just about 10 or 15%, if I remember correctly, of our Brickyard Hill White blended into this to lighten it up a little bit. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We're gonna switcheroo on the glass on this one. So I like to drink my sparkling wines and champagne out of a regular wine glass. However, there are benefits to drinking your sparkling wine out of a flute. The shape of the flute actually condenses the bubbles closer to your nose so that you get a little bit more of aroma. With me, I like to really get my nose into the glass, which is a little bit harder to do with the flute, but it also directs those bubbles to a very specific point on your palate. So you really get a different experience when drinking from a flute. You can see this is a little bit lighter in color than our Marquette Rosé, but not by a whole lot. With this one, you're gonna get lots of notes of fresh strawberries. Oh man, that's good. A little bit of minerality, and maybe like a little bit of raspberry. It's really, really a wonderful wine. It's not a full sparkling like a champagne would be. It's a little bit less sparkling than that. So if you're one of those people that drinks champagne and you say, oh, that's too carbonated for me, try this because you might actually like it a little bit better. It is sparkling, but it's not as effervescent and carbonated as a traditional method champenois would be. And you even get a lot of strawberry on the palate on this one as well. This is a wonderful wine. This is one of my favorites. This is one of Brana's favorites. And I think if you guys give this a try, it's gonna become your favorite this summer as well. Hi, it's me again. Okay, today we are talking about everybody's favorite. If you're a true longtime fan of Fireside Winery and you like our sweet wines, I'm pretty sure Glow has been a big fixture in your what you drink here at our winery or what you buy and take home. Notorious for its beautiful frosted pink bottle, Glow is going to be 100% Brianna. Most of that Brianna is grown on our estate, but we do purchase a little Brianna from some local growers here in Iowa County, which all grow fantastic fruit for us, but that kind of helps us supplement, and I think it may even only be 15 to 20% of the total production of Brianna is what we actually bring in from outside growers, but we use that to supplement because we make so much Glow. It also allows us to pick our best fruit for our dry Brianna, and that's not to say that the fruit that goes into Glow is not great fruit, but with the dry Brianna, we need it to be able to express itself a little bit more because it's not sweet. With the Glow, we're looking at about 6.5% residual sugar, so that equates to about 65 grams of sugar per liter of wine. The cool thing about Glow is it's one of those things that when people come in and say, I typically only drink Moscato. Even though this is not a Moscato, it is one of those things that's gonna kind of fit right in that wheelhouse for you. Enjoy. Okay, so we are now talking about Dolce. Technically this is a new wine for us, but it's also technically an old wine for us. So in the past, this wine was called Dolce St. Croix because it was typically made of 100% or at least 85% St. Croix, which is another variety of grape that we grow on our main vineyard at the Brickyard Hill Vineyard. We changed the name from Dolce St. Croix to Dolce because we wanted to be able to start blending in a little bit of Marquette and a little bit of Frontenac into it because we grow so many of those grapes. And our availability of St. Croix is smaller, and we use St. Croix for a lot of different things like Lazy Nights, Autumn Spice will typically have a little St. Croix in it as well. So we needed to be able to be a little bit more flexible. Plus, we also found that St. Croix really liked to have a little help from its grape friends Marquette and Frontenac. We actually just won a gold medal at the International Women's Wine Competition with this. This is a blend that our production assistant and lab assistant Amy came up with, and we're really, really proud of it. She did an awesome job with this wine. And it's a very light to medium bodied wine. There's no oak involved at any point of the aging of this red wine. And it's moderately sweet. If I remember correctly, this is around 5 to 7%, somewhere in there, residual sugar. That's 50 to 70 grams. It may even be right at 60. It's a really, really approachable, easy drinking wine. This is one of those wines that even I think a typical dry wine drinker could still enjoy if they were having a bottle or sharing a glass with a friend or something like that. Get really, really interesting notes of like blackcurrant, a little like black raspberry even on this one. I even get notes of things like elderberry with this wine. It's just really a good wine, super approachable, and even being as sweet as it is, it's not what I would call cloying, especially once it's chilled. I typically drink dry wines myself, but I've actually put sparkling water in this and kind of made a spritzer out of it, and it's really, really nice. But on its own, it's absolutely fantastic. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about our Sweet Wine Club. First up is our Sparkling Almond. This has been a kind of a cult favorite here at Fireside Winery. The last several vintages of this that we've actually made from 100% Edelweiss grown on our estate vineyard. Depending on the time of year that we blend up and carbonate our sparkling almond, that can change, but most of the time we're trying to keep it 100% Edelweiss. In the past, it was Brickyard Hill White, but we've really found that we've been happy with the profile that Edelweiss has provided for our sparkling almond. It just is a really good backbone to handle the basically the almond extract that we put in there. We found that with other wines, you add that extract and it just overpowers it, and the only thing you can taste is the almond. And we found that Edelweiss really could just stand up to it really, really well. It's got a wonderful acidity. Edelweiss is super floral, so not only are you getting that signature almond character with this wine, you're also getting all of the wonderful characteristics of Edelweiss itself. And we're back. Okay, so we're going to talk about Firefly. Firefly is another kind of like Glow, and kind of like our sparkling almond. It's just another one of those cult favorites of Fireside Winery. In the past, Firefly was 100% Catawba, and over the years we've kind of started changing that a little bit. We grow a lot of grapes at our Brickyard Hill Vineyard, and we like to use the grapes that we grow, but Firefly has to have that signature Catawba flavor and characteristic. Catawba is known for being a light to medium bodied rosé. It tends to be a little on the spicy side, which is kind of interesting, and that's due kind of to some of the natural characteristics that you get from these Native American grape varieties like Catawba and Concord. They all have these special proteins in them that kind of give them a little bit of spiciness. And I'm not talking like heat spicy, I'm just talking kind of like a green pepper, bell pepper type spiciness. We have found that blending in a little bit of Marquette Rosé really, really goes a long way. And then something new for this year is we blended in a little bit of Frontenac Gris, which kind of behind the scenes in the production facility is one of our favorite wines that we make. The other cool new thing that we're doing for this year on Firefly, and you'll start seeing this on other wines as well, is we have converted on these bottles to a screw cap, which these were cork in the past, which is really exciting. So you'll start seeing that roll out first on Firefly. You'll see it on Serenade coming soon. Actually, I think it's out now. And then you'll start seeing that on Brickyard Hill White and Storyteller in the future as those wines get into their next vintage. The cool thing about Firefly, we also do this in a sparkling version as well called Fizzy Firefly, which is awesome. It's a wine that we all really love, but it's a really, really juicy, fruity, with a little bit of that spice characteristic. but it has just the right amount of sweetness that you need to really make all those fruit characteristics in this wine pop. Oh, didn't see you there. Okay, so we're going to talk about Lazy Nights, which is our sangria style wine. We've made some really awesome changes to this wine this year. In the past, it was typically just Marquette or St. Croix or a blend of the two, and then we would add in some natural blackberry flavoring and some natural citrus flavoring like orange flavoring. We have gotten away from using the flavorings on this particular wine. Kind of the planets aligned this year, and we were doing some of our fruit fermentations at the same time. So we actually blended in some blackberry wine that we were making for Ackerman. So blended in some red raspberry wine that we were also making for Ackerman. And it's just got a little kiss of Concord in there as well this year. So this is honestly drinking much more like a true sangria than it did in the past. We did omit the citrus from it. We wanted to kind of leave it open for you if you were going to take this home and maybe put an orange slice on it, or if you wanted to put it in a pitcher and add your own fruit and citrus to it as well for a party or something like that. We kind of wanted to leave it open-ended for you to kind of make that interpretation. But we wanted to do something a little bit more traditional. So this is going to be a blend of mostly St. Croix, just a little touch of Marquette, and again, it's going to have that blackberry, red raspberry, and again, just a teeny tiny touch of Concord in there. It makes for a really accurate sangria drinking experience, in my opinion. And, you know, a lot of Europeans, especially in Spain, actually add in brandy to their sangria to actually kind of fortify it a little bit, kind of boost up that alcohol content, since you're going to typically be drinking it on ice or something like that. But we just kind of wanted to give you an awesome foundation to kind of interpret it however you want at home. Or you just open the bottle and drink it and enjoy it like we do. Cheers. All right, so we're going to enjoy some blue next in our nice, beautiful blue hock bottle. We create blue to kind of mimic as close to a semi-sweet Riesling as we possibly can. The grape variety that we mainly use in this is called Geisenheim, which is a hybrid that is, again, supposed to kind of be as close to Riesling as possibly can. I actually think it may even be a hybrid of Riesling. I'd have to do a little bit more research on that. But we use that. We purchased those grapes from the Finger Lakes area up in New York. But we also do blend in some of our Brickyard Hill White Blend, which is Lacrosse, La Crescent, and St. Pepin, and a little Frontenac Blanc. We do that, again, because we want to be able to use some of our own grapes along with any grapes that we bring in from the outside. But you'll kind of get that very traditional Riesling character on this. Riesling is known for kind of having, for lack of a better term, kind of a petrol type smell, which is basically usually kind of a fusel oil type smell, but a very light hint of that is what you're really looking for. But by using our Lacrosse, La Crescent, St. Pepin, and Frontenac Blanc, we're able to really kind of balance that out a little bit and kind of put that more in the mid palate while giving you a little bit more acid to brace the overall profile of this wine. I'm a Riesling lover, personally, and this is a really great option if you're a Riesling drinker. Hi, welcome back to Drinking Wine in the Middle of the Day with Mark. All right, so up next on our Best of Both Wine Club, which we affectionately call Bob here, this is our Catawba, which is an awesome offering from our Ackerman winery. Catawba is a Native American grape variety. It's kind of traditionally, when you see it on the vine, it's very pink in color. It's a very beautiful grape on the vine, and you can find it a lot through the Amanas growing alongside Concord and that kind of stuff. Even some of it wild over the years, just from kind of taking over. But Catawba is known for having kind of a little bit of a spicy character to it, but also a lot of really interesting notes of like strawberry and floral characteristics like hibiscus and that kind of stuff. And then this particular offering has just a little bit of Marquette Rosé and Frontenac Gris blended into it as well. The difference between this and our Firefly, which is pretty much the same exact thing for Fireside Winery, is for Ackerman Winery, it's a little bit sweeter than Firefly. So Firefly typically is at around 6 or 7% residual sugar. For Ackerman, we do our Catawba at about 10% residual sugar. So it's quite a bit sweeter, which really changes the profile of this. And it doesn't make it drink quite like a dessert wine, but it is definitely noticeably sweeter, but in a good way. Even versus Firefly, it brings out some different fruit characteristics that you might not catch. In this particular case, it kind of leans a little bit more into the strawberry, but all while still maintaining its really wonderful acidity. Hello, you wonderful Ackerman Wine Club members. So we're going to talk about your wine club shipment for this quarter. Making a really cool comeback is our dandelion wine, one of our favorites amongst Ackerman Winery. Made from dandelions that we source from people all over Iowa County. We actually have folks that come in, they've picked dandelion blossoms all day, and we buy and pay for those by the gallon. And we just take the blossoms and we'll actually soak those in water and kind of make a tea out of it, and then we'll add sugar and get that fermenting. So you're getting the true essence of Iowa County grown dandelion in each taste. If you've never tried our dandelion wine before, it is a very interesting flavor profile. It's very earthy. Some people absolutely love it. I like it. I think it's really interesting, and it's something very different that you just wouldn't normally get anywhere else. So a lot of home winemakers make dandelion wine. It's been a tradition for many, many years. But for a commercial winery like ourselves, making a commercially available dandelion wine is a pretty big feat, and you don't find that a lot throughout the Midwest. So we're really proud to offer our dandelion wine for you guys to enjoy. Also, this time around, we've got our mead making a new appearance on this one. We have a really, really awesome source for locally grown honey. And we use just honey, water, and yeast. And then once it's done fermenting, we'll actually go back in and add more honey to back sweeten that wine, rather than adding sugar to it like we would with some of our other sweet wines. So you're really getting a full-on honey experience with our mead. Mead is one of the oldest styles of wine made. Some historians even think it is the oldest style of wine, but traditionally made by the Vikings back in the day, so that's pretty cool. And then after that, we've got our Concord wine, which we actually just won a gold medal at the International Women's Wine Competition with that wine, as well as best in class on that one. So if you've had Concord wine before, or even just grew up on grape juice as a kid, this is basically that. It's adult grape juice. It's really wonderful. So has that true, pure essence of Concord grapes. And there's no mistaking it. It's really wonderful. So if you like that, you would also enjoy our Serenade for Fireside Winery. The Ackerman offering is just a little bit sweeter than the Fireside Serenade offering. All around still gives you that wonderful Concord experience.